This evaluation, as you all understood, is extremely timely in the sense that it comes at a moment where we knew already that the present gender action plan was coming to an end by 2015. So it was already on our schedule, on our bureaucratic process to have a successor to the GAP, and it was already in the council conclusion last year. But the change of commission, the change of college, the new commission and the new president put a certain emphasis and a certain momentum on this. Obviously, we will rely and we will use the result of this evaluation so to improve and both at political but also at technical level to improve what we're trying to push to build for the next period. Imagining back how the situation was in 2010, we do have made some progress. Not to be saying, but there are some progress. And I mean, Francis and the evaluation team has given an example. Of course, it's patchy, and I agree, it's rather inconsistent because it's very much on the shoulders of individuals or committed people here and there that some countries or some parts of the house have changed. And this is clearly not enough. But there are other examples also where you have some progress in terms of burden sharing. There was a lot of discussion or elements were saying, well, donor coordination, which is also something we're talking about since years and years and years. But it does happen. We have Senegal was not part of the picture, where there was a kind of burden sharing amongst donors to say, okay, you take care of gender in that thematic, let's say agriculture, and we take care of gender dimension in another, so that altogether member states plus the EU or the EC or the delegation do a consistent work and try to improve the things. But as I said, it's not one example. It's just a tree. I mean, it's not the forest. Far from that. And don't misinterpret what I'm saying about. On the other hand, also through the GAP, with all the reservation that Francis has made in terms of gender marker, there is progress. And so statistically, if we look at how the percentage of the first year was 14% gender-sensitive programs within the EU cooperation. We are last data available unofficially, it was not concluded, 2013, we are at 39%. So, of course, it's not enough. The target was 75. We all know we are completely out of reach for the target. But nevertheless, you see that over 3 years, we've improved the situation. And of course, we know it will take time, and we hope we'll continue on the same path. But just to illustrate a bit, that this is why we are not desperate, let's say. Otherwise, we would certainly give up. So, quite a number of good examples. Now, coming back on recommendations. Leadership already touched upon at the political level. I don't think we have any doubt. And I'm saying I'm going to accept or not. This is not a place where I can tell you yes or no. I can just give you some elements to think about. We will have obviously to feed into the contradictory fish or the fiche contradictoire what our position is vis-à-vis the recommendation by the evaluation team. It's a process again. I need some numbers of clearance before getting there, but we will do it. But just to show, shift management leadership. This is key, in my view. There again, we must change things, and it's not only about having another session on sensitizing Director General, Deputy Director General, Head of Delegations, whoever, that will make the trick. Of course it's necessary. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. But in my last experience, I will not tell who and when and how, about trying to talk about the gender dimension in a wide session with representative of delegations was when I started, as usual, 20% of the attendants left the room, and the room was populated by 80% of men. So, okay, take whatever conclusion you want, but there's clearly a cultural, quote-unquote, elements that needs to be taken. Although all the 4 or 5 people who were sitting with me on the, as speakers were all 4 men, but it didn't make any difference. And there were the usual 20 or 25% who stood up and left. It's just anecdotic, but it's very symptomatic of how people think about the issue sometimes. Now, this is clearly an element we want to tackle. Marcus will come to conclude. This is also one of the elements we need to face, not only within the Commission, but it's also, as very much as you said, Francis, head of delegation. It's not only Brussels, it's also on the ground. Complementarity, another element. Donor coordination. These are words that we are using since years and years and years. And there again, we know that there are some progresses. We've made progresses at a general level. We need perhaps more to focus again on gender issues in particular. Now, there are things I can talk about. Gender analysis. Yes. You said should, I would say must. How can you speak about something you don't know? It's very difficult. I'm not a hyper gender specialist. I knew a few things. But I mean, if I need to get into a subject which I don't know or for which I don't have any very, very needed expertise, it's difficult for me to understand the whole thing. So clearly, we should have that analysis on board. Gender marker, I already spoke about it. Let me perhaps illustrate also the experience we made, because we were quite worried when we started receiving data on the first year saying, well, 13% of your cooperation is gender sensitive, the rest is not. We discussed it with the member states in a CODEV session, and we faced all the same problem you've pointed out. So the gender marker is existing. It's a good tool. There are OECD rules explaining, or the DAC rules explaining how to use it. And then you have an interpretation, which leads to what you've seen. In some cases, because there is a word like gender or women, people consider 100% of the project is gender sensitive, which is totally not true. We are in a rhetorical situation where you just name it, and this is, I've done my duties and good luck. On the other hand, you have gender sensitive, very good projects which are not marked at all because, well, the person didn't tick or didn't analyze it enough or didn't know about the rules or whatever. So it just went through without being highlighted as gender sensitive. So it gives a balance. And this situation that Francis and his team has seen within our cooperation is also true in the member states. Some recognize that, well, the way they implemented gender marker was, let's say, variable according to years, according to countries, and we saw quite a number of differences in interpretation within the same group during that discussion. Not to blame anyone, that's not the point, but to see that one thing perhaps which is not recommended here, but we have to think about on a long term is how would we, or how can we improve not the marker as such, but that the use of the marker is simple, evident, and is not forgotten, and clearly a good instrument, I would say, or a usable instrument for the colleagues in charge. This is a question I don't think I have a solution, but clearly I think we have globally and collectively we have some issues around that. Job description, assessment, yes. We spoke also, some of you certainly attended the meeting we had with Civil Society last week on the Future Chat and Action Plan. We spoke about incentives and disincentives. So how do you push a bureaucracy to move in the direction that they will implement what they are supposed to do according to the strategic policy? So of course you can give bonuses, right? So you get some more money if you're behaving well and doing your job properly. That we know. But as I said, we are in a bureaucracy, and this is not it's a no-go for the Commission. So we heard about, and I like it very much, I would say, the UK's experience, DFID experience on this, where, well, they act as a bureaucracy, in the sense that if you're behaving well, you will have less bureaucratic work to do. If you're behaving badly, you'll have more. In other terms, if you're behaving well, less report. if you're behaving badly, you report 4 times more than your colleagues. And I'm just figuring it out for myself. I would immediately change my mind. So, this is, of course, again, anecdotic, but this is the way we're thinking, trying to find a way where that would push a difference. It's not necessarily that you need to bang on the head of people. You can have that, what we call cultural shift, or try to push for that cultural shift, which is perhaps a wrong way. I mean, like, perhaps I might be provocative, and numbers of you might disagree with that, the quota system. And for sometimes you might need a quota system until you reach the target you want, and then you leave it. That would be perhaps a wrong way to push for gender, right? I agree, but it might be efficient. So why not try it? Or let's suggest it, we'll see whether we'll try it or not. Evaluation, monitoring resources, there again, I mean, Francis was absolutely clear. The ROM does have a question, or should consider gender dimension when monitoring the project, but if there is nothing in the project, or no reference at all in the project, it's difficult to see whether or not it has an impact. So it's a bit, numbers of issues. So reporting from the head of delegation. Should we or should we not have a compulsory part on what did you do on gender equality in your country, or in the country you're person in? I mean, EMR is a compulsory report by the head delegation. Perhaps they should put their face, they have to sign it at the end of the day. It's not only finance, it's also politically, what did you do? So it could be another instrument. Last point I wanted to say about the recommendation about EU result framework. Very much agree. We have here again an opportunity to, as we are building up, trying to build up a EU result framework for the next period. We have the SDG, we know about Goal 5, and I fully share Francis' view. It's not only about Goal 5, because Goal 5 will be, okay, yes, that's the ghetto, right? Let's get it elsewhere. I'm also very much interested in Goal 16 for governance, justice, and this is a place where I would like to see a gender dimension taken into account, and many others. But I mean, just as an example, it's not because gender has a specific goal or standing alone goal on 5 that we should forget about gender and the others. And this is sometimes the thinking that is behind. So we're working with the unit in charge of that, and we take care. We already spoke a lot about disaggregated data, which is key in knowing at least what happens. And these are the issues we try to push forward. Now, this is for the evaluation. On how we take it forward now. That's the point. So, we'll have a new gap. First called gap 2 for the minute. And we're working very hard on that since 4 months. What we'd like, the thrust of it will be around, let's say, 3 thematic priority. And I'll repeat perhaps, and sorry for those who already know. We'll have 3 thematic approach, one about the physical and psychological integrity, one about women's economic empowerment, to make it short, and the third one about voices and representations, so the 3 thematic way of how to integrate gender dimension. We will have a 4th one, which is the key element, to my view, as I said, which is very in line with what we found in this conclusion and recommendation, which is what we call the cultural shift. And this is very much the internal element, so reporting, analysis, expertise, job descriptions, process, reporting, indicators, etc. And we are going to work on these 4 to allow the delegation to have both a thematic approach where they would, in coordination with the member states, obviously, where they will choose in which direction they could go. So it will be a kind of menu where they could pick actions on the thematic. But what will be common, and it should be common, and we try to enforce for everybody, is this trans-administrative crossover dimension that we definitely want to have implemented through this cultural shift that we want to push. I'll stop here. Sorry, on the process, perhaps. Last words. This is very much work in progress. On the structured data described. We have tested it with civil society organization representative last Friday, with member states last Thursday, and with the task force which is working on it last Wednesday. So I had quite a heavy week, or I have kind of a heavy time now on agenda for these days. But I mean, we are trying, we are pushing. I'm quite confident from the feedback we received for both civil society member states last week. We will continue to work, and we are absolutely backed by our cabinet on that, so be sure that we will not stop on our own. Thank you for this, and of course I'll try to answer all your questions.